Welcome back to another edition of Life After Cancer Commentaries. I'm Diane M. Simard, and I'm changing up the name of these videos to Life After Cancer Commentaries because it's the new year, it's January, it's dry January for me, and in just a couple of months I'll be releasing my next book, which is actually the sequel to my first book, The Unlikely Gift of Breast Cancer. And so my next book is all about what happened after formal cancer treatment ended. And so this morning, we're going to take just a few minutes to review what all happened in my first book, The Unlikely Gift of Breast Cancer. And where do we begin? Well, those of you who actually read The Unlikely Gift of Breast Cancer know that it was actually a narrative, a story about my year in 2015 with breast cancer. And it starts on the day that I was diagnosed, and it includes a lot of backstory. And so the book was written in memoir style, and that was intentional. And it gave me a great opportunity to do a lot of reviewing about my childhood, bringing in those people from my life who really influenced me and impacted the way that I got through and dealt with something so shocking as a cancer diagnosis. And as I mentioned, it begins on the day I was diagnosed. That was intentional because it covers a year in the life. And it goes from the day that I was diagnosed to the night before my 1-year anniversary as a survivor. And of course, kind of the legal definition of all this is that at the moment that you're diagnosed, you become a survivor. And so that's that initial jumping off point. And so it covers a year in the life, and it talks about the shock of getting a diagnosis, such a surprise diagnosis, because like so many, I'd had annual mammograms like I was supposed to. And so for some reason, I thought that that was going to help me avoid ever getting breast cancer, which has nothing to do with it. But as it turns out, in the long run, I have dense breast tissue, which has had its moment. It's getting more attention, which is so important, because what that means is that dense breast tissue, it means that mammography and some other forms of tests makes it hard to identify cancer tumors. And so that was exactly what happened to me. And in hindsight, my oncologist believes I likely had cancer for several years until it was discovered kind of accidentally because of my 3 breast tumors. 2 of them were close enough together that it finally started to what they call cluster. And that was able to be seen on mammography. And that's what led to additional testing and callbacks. And the whole premise of The Unlikely Gift of Breast Cancer is I'm trying to figure out why this happened to me, what I did wrong in my life to deserve this, and why I was saved. Because as the testing went on, we discovered that the cancer had actually traveled to the lymph nodes in my left armpit and was really kind of teetering on the edge of metastasizing throughout my whole body. So I'm really one of the fortunate ones that it was discovered, because if we had waited another year for another mammogram, who knows what would have happened. And so that's the theme of the book, is how I struggle getting through treatment, understanding and realizing that I should be very grateful that I have a type of cancer, a type of breast cancer that's considered treatable. And of course, what I was prescribed was very brutal. And I describe in great detail, which some either it frightens them or they appreciate the honesty and the voice with which I use to talk about not just what's happening to me physically, but also the emotions. And so speaking of those emotions, I was so frustrated with the lack of mental health support that's a part of standard cancer treatment that I actually ended up seed funding and founding a specialty here at the University of Denver. That was the first in the country at the time to offer graduate students, psychology majors, the opportunity to learn about what's called psychosocial oncology, or what I call psycho-oncology for short. And so I end up founding that specialty. It was called the Center for Oncology Psychology Excellence, or COPE. And the book actually ends on the night that we announced COPE publicly. And COPE came together while I was still going through treatment. And so 2 months after I finished treatment, we announced it to the public, and then classes started that fall. And honestly, the process of writing the book and founding Cope was what I called my life raft back out of cancer and into the next chapter of my life. And so the next follow-on book, called Unlikely Gifts Unwrapped, Unfiltered Reflections on Life After Breast Cancer, starts on the day after my 1-year cancer survivorversary, as I called it. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you watching these videos, and I'm so excited to offer up my next project, and so grateful that you're interested in my story, because there's so many more stories to come. Please always remember that there's an unlikely gift in every circumstance, and I do wish you the best of everything in this new year. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.